Have you ever felt like you're just stuck? You're at a crossroads, maybe with your career or a huge personal project, and you've got all these ideas and worries swirling around in your head? You know you need a plan, right? But how do you turn all that noise into a clear path forward? Well, what if I told you there's a tool for that, a way to bring some serious structure to that chaos? That's exactly what we're going to get into. So let's just ask it straight up. What's your next big move? Are you thinking about switching careers? Finally launching that side business? Or maybe just going for that promotion you know you deserve? Whatever it is, that one question, that's where every single great strategy starts. And yeah, there's a tool for that. A time-tested framework that some of the biggest companies in the world use to make huge decisions. But the best part? You can use it for your own life, right now, to map out your future with a kind of clarity you probably haven't felt before. And that tool is called a SWOT analysis. Now, I can already hear you thinking, SWOT? Isn't that some corporate business jargon? And, well, yeah, it started there, but its real power is how it can become your own personal strategy session, all packed into one simple but, trust me, really powerful framework. The best way to think about it is like a strategic mirror. You know how self-reflection can feel kind of vague and messy? Well, this mirror forces you to look at yourself and your situation objectively. It takes all those fuzzy thoughts and helps you sharpen them into a concrete, actionable plan. And this is not some new trend. We're talking about a framework that was developed at Harvard Business School all the way back in the 1960s. For decades, it's been the absolute go-to for evaluating strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. Why? Because it helps you make smarter decisions. Simple as that. So how does this thing actually work? It all boils down to understanding the 4 boxes, the 4 quadrants, and really getting the most important distinction, the difference between what's going on inside of you and what's happening in the world around you. And this is what it looks like, the classic SWOT matrix. It's just a simple 2x2 grid, right? It organizes all your thoughts into those 4 key areas we just mentioned. It looks simple, and it is, but don't let that fool you. It is incredibly powerful. Okay, now this is the absolute key to the whole thing. The matrix is split right down the middle. On the left, you've got your internal factors, your strengths and your weaknesses. These are the things you own, the things you have control over. But on the right, you've got the external stuff, opportunities and threats. These are things out in the world you can't control, but you absolutely have to adapt to. Getting this difference, knowing what you can change versus what you just have to respond to, that is everything. So, getting real value out of this isn't just about scribbling stuff in boxes. Nope. It's about the quality of the thinking you do beforehand. And that all starts by asking yourself some really good, honest questions. But wait, before you ask a single question, you have to do one thing first. And this is non-negotiable. You have to set a clear goal. What are you actually trying to achieve here? Are you aiming for that promotion? Are you trying to launch that new business? Every single thing you write down in your SWOT has to be directly related to that one specific goal. If it's not, it doesn't belong. Without a goal, your SWOT is just a random list of facts about yourself. All right, let's kick it off with strengths. So what advantages do you have? What skills, what connections, what experiences do you bring to the table? What do you just flat out do better than other people? This isn't about being arrogant. It's about taking an honest inventory of your assets. Next up, weaknesses. And you have to be brutally honest with yourself here. Where do you lack experience? What are your bad habits? What makes you feel less confident? Seriously, think of this as your personal growth checklist. You can't fix a problem until you admit it exists, right? Okay, now we shift gears. We're going to look outside ourselves at the external world. What's happening out there? Is your industry booming? Is there some new technology you could master? Are there people you could connect with? These are like favorable wins, and you want to be ready to raise your sails and catch them. And finally, we've got to look at the threats. What obstacles could totally derail you? This could be anything from new competitors to a shaky job market, or even a new technology that could make your skills less valuable. The point is to spot these icebergs early so you have time to steer around them. Okay, so you've filled out all 4 boxes. Fantastic. But let's be real, a list is not a plan. The real magic, the part that actually changes things, happens when you start connecting those quadrants together to build your actual strategy. And this right here shows you exactly how it's done. You start matching your internal factors with the external ones. You ask, how can I use my strengths to jump on these opportunities? That's an SO strategy.
Or how can I use my strengths to protect myself from these threats? That's an ST strategy. You see, this is how you go from just observing your situation to actively planning your attack.
You know, theory is great, but let's make this feel real. Let's walk through a pretty complex, high-stakes decision and see how this framework can bring some incredible clarity to the table.
So, our goal is super clear. We need to figure out if buying a specific commercial property for our new business is a good move. Everything we do now is going to be laser focused on answering that one question.
Now, a good SWOT needs good information, right? You can't just guess. For a decision like this, you'd have to do your homework. You'd research things like zoning laws, how much rent you could charge, what other properties have sold for, and the economic health of the whole area. This research is what fills your matrix with facts, not just feelings.
And here's what that analysis might look like. Internally, our strengths, we've got a good chunk of savings and a great credit score. But our weaknesses, we don't have much experience in this space, and we don't know many contractors. Externally, there are opportunities. The neighborhood is on the upswing, and there are tax breaks. But there are also threats. Interest rates are climbing, and a big competitor might be moving in. All of a sudden, the whole landscape is so much clearer, isn't it?
So now let's build a real strategy from this. Here's a perfect example of an ST, or strengths threats strategy. We see the threat of rising interest rates. Well, we can use our strength, those significant savings, to put down a larger payment and lock in a mortgage rate right now, before they climb any higher. See that? That is a direct, concrete, actionable step that came straight from the analysis. And please don't do all this work and then just file it away in a drawer somewhere. Your SWOT analysis isn't meant to be a static document. It's a living, breathing action plan. And to make it really work, you've got to turn those insights into actions you can prioritize and schedule. And it really comes down to this simple 3-step process. First, you formulate. You list out all those specific, concrete action items we just talked about. Second, you prioritize. Look, you can't do everything at once, so you have to ask, what's the one thing I can do right now that will have the biggest impact? And third, and this is so important, you review. Set a reminder in your calendar. Revisit this thing every 6 months or so because your life will change, your goals might change, and the world will for sure change. Your strategy has to adapt with it.
You know, in the end, doing a personal SWOT is all about preparation. Like Louis Pasteur said, chance favors the prepared mind. It's not about being able to predict the future. It's about understanding yourself and your own landscape so well that you're ready to turn almost any situation into an advantage. So what's your next move? And more importantly, how are you going to prepare for it?